Welcome to this first edition of Prime Hour for this week, an edition that is going to be looking at a call made by one of the leading separatist leaders who now leads a faction called the People's Rights Advocacy Platform, in the person of Capo Daniel, who is calling for cessation of hostilities by Ambazonian People's Rights Advocacy Platform. And we got interested when he issued this communique yesterday and sought to discuss with him to tell us more about the motives behind this outing. We this evening are going to be discussing with Capo Daniel alongside Dr. Nick Angwanyam, who is with me in the studio. Good evening, Dr. Nick. We're glad to have you.
Oh, thank you very much, Leo, and good evening to Monsieur Capo Daniel. Good evening to our listeners around the world. The time has come for us to seek for peace in Cameroon, and peace we will have. That is my mission. We will have peace, and it's going to come, and Cameroon is going to be great again.
Capo Daniel, we are glad to have you once again on Prime Hour for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, for having me on this your platform. And it's a very big opportunity that you give all the people on both sides to have a chance to express themselves so that the Cameroonians can have a direct access to hear exactly what we say and what is happening on the field back in the English-speaking regions that we want to call Ambazonia.
That you want to call Ambazonia, but I will start by asking you, there is a communique that was issued by the People's Rights Advocacy Platform, signed by Capo Daniel, who is the chairman of the PRAP platform, titled Cessation of Hostilities by the Ambazonia People's Rights Advocacy Platform. Why this communique at this moment?
Yeah, it is very important at this time, after 8 years since this war have been going on, that we have a chance to reflect on a way to move forward. This is also a period where the Cameroon government is coming into their election calendar for presidential election, and the international community pays attention in particularly in this country during this period of time. So in view of my organization, the People's Rights Advocacy Platform, to push for a negotiated settlement, which we believe it is the right time to do so, we have decided unanimously on Saturday, the 4th of May, to adopt a resolution to end all hostility, cessation of hostility against the state of Cameroon, and adopt a peaceful means towards advocacy for the right of self-determination of our people, as part of our push for a negotiated settlement with the Cameroon government in this conflict that is raging on for 8 years now and counting.
Why wait till now, Capo Daniel?
As you know, the war have evolved. We started this war when the consortium, which was made up of all civil servants segment in our society in the English-speaking part of Cameroon, all the teachers' union, the drivers' union, the lawyers' union, they came together to collectively bargain on behalf of all Anglophones, all the people of West Cameroon, with the central government of Cameroon. And surprise, surprise, all of them were being chased down, they were arrested. The consortium was banned. An organization that was engaged to represent our people collectively was banned. We saw that as an attack on our identity and our culture. And we, given the fact that we came into this union as a international entity, a state of the former British Southern Cameroon, we picked up arms, our youth picked up arms to fight and defend their identity, to fight and defend their rights of self-determination. But since then, in 2019, the Cameroon government have conceded to accept that, yes, indeed, our people are a people that have certain rights and have certain unique qualities that stems from our history of being part of the British Trust Territory. And indeed, they have granted us a special status as a result of that concession, which we think do not meet up with the aspiration of our people and do not adequately address the problem that it has identified. So that was a big change of the Cameroon government. Ever since our movement refused to participate in that election, in hindsight, that was not a very wise decision, but the Cameroon government have consistently kept open the follow-up committee of the Grand National Dialogue to continue to engage with all the our movements and the various personalities within our struggle. They have engaged in the Swiss talks. They have also engaged in the Canadian talks that failed, in which I participated as one of the delegates. At one point, I was the leading delegate of a movement there. And at the collapse of that Canadian talks, this movement, the People's Right Advocacy Platform, emerged with the network that I have built on the ground. I have worked with as the ambassador of Seseko Ayoktabi. I was a founding member of the IG. In the initial stages of this struggle, we were involved in raising arms and supporting the boys that pick up arms in Manu under the Tigers of Ambazonia. Being the deputy defense chief, one of the most credible and currently the most influential Ambazonia personality. And this is our generation. This is our war. We decided that this struggle that started to represent our collective interests have been transformed into something else. The groups that emerges, the various organizations, were full of individuals who were also seeking opportunities for political adventure and their own personal ambition over the population of our territory. That is why our struggle has been so divided. And the Cameroon government have taken maximum advantage of that. 8 years counting, we see that it is time for us, in view of the Cameroon concession, to seek for a new social contract and to end this war and end the suffering of our people on both sides. That is why my organization have made this declaration to secede from hostility against the state of Cameroon and pursue through peaceful means a negotiated settlement to resolve this matter. And we count on all goodwill Cameroonians, both Francophones and Anglophones, to rally together behind this initiative to support for a negotiated settlement. The idea that some people within the regime, led by Paul Biya, because he's the president of that country, that somehow they can bring a solution that exclude the people who have fought for the problem which they have agreed, that is somehow possible, that is not true. Since the special status was granted in 2019, over 600 Cameroon military personnel have been killed. Of course, we have had significant losses. The battle takes place in our territory, in the English-speaking part, and it pains us the most, but there is death on both sides. And we hope that Paul Biya will be able to keep aside his own ego and engage in a negotiated settlement. And as elections are coming in Cameroon, that in the ballot of this election, the option of the resolution of this crisis should be in the ballot box if elections are to take place in Cameroon. We want all Cameroonians to rally and say that autonomy for the English-speaking regions should be on the ballot box. Our people should be given a way to come out of this crisis with their dignity and their honor. And that is what we are pushing for in this, our campaign. This ceasefire, this cessation of hostility, which we have announced, is for our dark forces which are on the ground. We have asked them to preserve their weapons for their personal self-defense only, and do not engage any longer in any hostility in Cameroon or in the English-speaking part of Cameroon. And these have set the stage, and other forces in our territory are also flexible to even engage in ceasefire, depending on how the Cameroon government reciprocate. We hope that they will do so, but there is lack of hope because the way they reacted with the Canadian talks coming out to say that nothing happened, when the Canadians are saying that we were there, we had signatures on the ground. So, but we are hopeful that if the Cameroonians, they come together and support this initiative, this is the first time a separatist movement have put on the table a solution that do not involve the splitting of the country, but involve one country, two people, where we can all agree and coexist in this beautiful place that we have once called Cameroon, the miniature of Africa. And let us put beside the shame that this war have brought on both sides.
Okay, Capo, we'll be coming back to you. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, you have gone through this communique that was issued by the People's Rights Advocacy Platform led by Capo Daniel. Your first reaction when you saw the communique?
First, I want to thank you, Capo Daniel, for taking this bold step to do what is right, what is just, and what is good. Now you are doing exactly what His Eminence Christian Cardinal Toomey of blessed memory wanted for the people, but we all rejected him on both sides. The fighting Anglophones, they rejected him. The government also rejected him, and he went away with his pain. But I'm here to continue in the light of what he wanted for Cameroon. I will continue to speak his mind. I will continue to speak his wishes. And what I can tell all Cameroonians is that whatever Cardinal Toomey wanted for this nation is what will happen, and we'll all have it. It will be one nation with two peoples. There will be West Cameroon, there will be East Cameroon, there will be a president, a vice president. The capital of West Cameroon shall be in Numba. The capital of East Cameroon shall be at Ebebda. The capital of the center region shall be in Balmayo. The capital of the southwest region shall be in a place called Alu, not very far from Manyemen, on the way to Kumba. So these are the things that are going to happen. And among some of the other things that are going to happen, we will have to take out all the graduates from ENAM that are ruling in the nation and give back power to the people, because most of the problems that are created in this country come from ENAM, which is a tool of the French to divide the people.
How do you achieve what you just talking about? Because there must be political machination or machinery that should bring what you're saying to light. You are a militant of the CPDM party. How do you achieve what you're saying?
That's fine.
Does it fall in line with what your party advocates for?
So now let's go back a little bit. In 2017, when the war was picking steam, in 2017, that was around February, Prime Minister Philemon Yang came to Bamenda and had a meeting at the Congress Hall. I was at that meeting, and I think I was wearing this very jacket that on that day. And in the course of the discussions, I stood up and I said one thing, and I continue to say it. I said, Mr. Prime Minister, the government of Cameroon has sinned against the people. The government of Cameroon has done a couple of wrong things. And I also said, those that have picked up guns and are fighting have also done something wrong. That means both sides have failed the people. They have done wrong things. And what we ought to have done at that material moment, I mean, Prime Minister Philomene is down, Young is leaving, the governor of the Northwest, they are all leaving, and there were many other people there. That's what I said. And I went on to say this: let us all forgive each other. The government should forgive the Anglophones, and the Anglophones should forgive the government. Let us talk over these things genuinely and solve the problem. And if we had done that, all this killing and destruction, waste of money will not have been there. But we choose not to do so. In any case, His Excellency Philemon Yang was trying his best, actually, to see how he could move the agenda to satisfy everybody. And I remember he was still negotiating with the teachers and so on, and the other people at Ayaba, when one of our ministers, another Anglophone, was talking of some rubbish on a foreign TV station, which irritated everybody and caused a lot of trauma and damage. The same thing too happened when this current Prime Minister, when he was also trying to negotiate and see how he could talk softly to both sides and solve the problem. One other minister, again, I don't know if the same minister or another one, still went on, was it RFE or whatever, and still talked that rubbish. And it is this acidic language that has pushed us to where we are. People will talk rubbish and now create a very dangerous situation in the nation. They are not fighting. Their children are not fighting. They go and recruit the children of others to carry the guns and fight, be they soldiers on both sides or whatever. So we create a problem where children of other people are dying and we are talking nonsense. That has been the problem. And unfortunately, Along the line, the cardinal wanted to see how Anglophones could come together, so we talk over this thing, then go to this so-called national dialogue and speak with one voice. But unfortunately, problems were still brewing, and what many people thought was good enough was to torpedo what the cardinal was trying to do. And today we are suffering because we lack wisdom. I remember telling someone who attended that meeting with us in the Congress Hall, I said, I don't know whether I said it on the floor or I said it personally, I said wisdom is stronger than appointment. The problem of Cameroon is that we have a lot of people who are appointed but who lack wisdom. And because you lack wisdom, you create a lot of suffering for the nation, you create a lot of suffering for the people, because you lack truth, because you lack love, you lack empathy, and you don't respect people. So it's a behavioral problem where people think more of themselves than the common good, and they create all these problems, they kill others and think they are doing a great job. The President of the Republic, President Paul Biya, can appoint you fair and good, but an appointment in itself calls for you to have wisdom. If you don't have wisdom and you have power, you will use it to cause a lot of damage, and that's what we are suffering today.
Okay. Capo Daniel, I read from your communique. It says its members have unanimously adopted a resolution to end all hostilities against the Cameroon state. In regards to the resolution to end all hostilities against the Cameroon state to the Ambazonia conflict, we are resolved to choose the non-violent approach to our fight for the right of self-determination of the English-speaking people of Cameroon. Now, when you say you have chosen the non-violent approach, how do you intend to go about it?
We have a very robust team that have been engaging for the past, I think, 11 months to campaign for direct negotiation and to seek for this new social contract. And I'm very glad my friend, Dr. Ngwanyam, who is a member of CPDM, have also shown sympathy and show some compassion, which we expect from all Cameroonians. This program that we have issued, a peace plan paper that called for autonomy from the Constitution of Cameroon that divulge power to the English-speaking region, is a reasonable middle ground that we believe should resolve this war. Enough of the killing. We have successfully have some international partners that are willing to help us as we move along this journey to campaign and to meet other international partners, because the way the regime in Yaoundé operates is nobody cannot understand how they are so out of touch. One part of the party or one part of the country is negotiating, the other one will come and sabotage, as Dr. Nick have said, and they are all over the place. But there is one thing that I think is obvious to everybody, and this should be an eye-opener to the people in Cameroon. There is the case in Cambe, where the Cameroon military leaked their investigation into the bomb that was planted during the 11th February that killed 2 people, a young teenager, and had 3 women, their legs were decapitated. It has now turned out that that bomb was planted by the driver of the mayor of Nkambe, who was seen with Ngala Gerard sharing money to the people to participate in 11th February. So an attack that was supposed to disrupt the 11th February was carried out by the people who were organizing that same 11th February on behalf of the Cameroon government. So you have people within the regime who are making money out of this.
Capo Daniel, Capo, that is your assertion. We have not had that information. That could be the narrative that is coming from your bench, because what we have gathered is somehow contrary to what you're saying.
I would like to hear, because we have listened to audio messages from the investigation that was leaked. We have heard that the Cameroon main propagandists who have been helping them is in the name of Ponda Titus, who was campaigning that the Cameroon military should not go after those vigilante groups who are implicated in this particular case. All of them have run away from Cambe, and I would like you to do your investigation after that. But that is not the main point. The main point we are saying is that this war have evolved. It also have an economic part of it. There are people who benefit to see the war go on both sides. But it is time for us now, of all Cameroonians of good faith, why the Paul Biya, who is very old, still is in power, to resolve this problem and not to pass it to the next generation or to the next regime that may emerge. It is the right time to do the right thing. we are calling on all Cameroonians of good faith to look ourselves in the eye and say, is this problem too difficult for us to handle? The people of the Southern Cameroon, I don't think there is any Francophone who is so interested in controlling how we govern our affairs there in Boya and in Kumba and in Bamenda. Our people deserve that preservation, even of the bilingual nature of the country. We cannot agree on a form of bilingualism and say English and French are equal when we know that we are the minority. In a place like Canada, the French part of Canada is protected by autonomy. They govern themselves. The French language is dominant in Quebec. We want similar situation in Cameroon where the English-speaking part have their own administration. The English language is the dominant language and the medium of study in schools, while we can learn French as a language and become bilingual out of choice. So this is the right thing to do. We are hoping that the international community will support this proposition that we have supported, we have put forth. We are also hoping that Paul Biya, at this his old age, should think about his legacy. The idea that they want to bring a solution that has nothing or no input for those who were fighting for the same problem. They themselves have now accepted that indeed this problem have a root cause from our origin as being people from the British Southern Cameroon. That is really not attainable for them. They can never have a complete military victory. Yes, on our side, we have failed. We have seen our own shortcoming. We started this war as a result of self-defense. The movements have been hijacked by an ideology that in itself is self-defeating. And our people, the youth, our people on the ground, you saw for the first time, you saw even Ambazonian fighters in Bui protesting on the street against extreme groups within our struggle. The Cameroon military is not to say that they are free. We have seen they were burning houses, but we have seen some changes, a little bit changes in their behavior. Nevertheless, we are saying it is time for reconciliation. It is time for us to seek for a new social contract, to seek for an inclusive solution where the English-speaking people will feel that we have a just solution that protects our own specificity. The Cameroon government have already agreed that we have a root cause problem. Now, how do you solve it? Do you come and you are giving us a conciliator, a public conciliator, over power over the mayors and the people that were elected? We never had a problem with the mayors in the first place. We had a problem with the governors and the SDO. We want a devolution of power where the functions of the governor is specified by the constitution. You are governing over what? What is your jurisdiction? What are your duties? Where is the civil service that supports that duty? We want our own budget. What do you manage? We don't want puppet governors and puppet SDOs and DO. We want the people to be given the power to elect them and rule themselves under this condition.
Capo Daniel, when you say you've noticed that, okay, the victory is not possible, there are many persons who would say you are speaking for yourself and that the fighting must go on till the last man standing. How do you consider or conclude that the war is not winnable? What makes you to take that posture?
First of all, we were fighting this struggle from the beginning as a result of self-defense. Our villages were being burned. Some SDO were calling on our people to leave their villages and go to Nigeria. And the Cameroon military was very excessive. This is something that many independent human rights organizations have well documented. In that, our action in self-defense, we also exert our own identity by saying we want independence. Siseko declared our independence as a result of the inaction or rejection of negotiation by the Cameroon government. So we have evolved as well. We must look at the reality and say that, militarily speaking, we cannot defeat Cameroon. Internationally, we have not been able for 8 years to have recognition of our independent state. The prospect to have that is very slim, or doesn't exist at all. So it is rational. It's for our people's sake. This is not politics. I'm not a politician. We are there to fight for the life and identity of the Anglophones. Since the Cameroon government have suggested this is their problem, the fighting have not stopped. It is not because somebody is remote controlling the voice. It's because on the ground, the people know that this solution does not reflect their aspiration and it does not resolve the problems that they were fighting for in the first place. Of course, there will be Ambazonian groups that are extreme that will say that let us fight for independence, whether we can have it or not, or let's fight a suicide mission where we say to the last man standing. Most of those people, over the time, you see that are people who are not really in touch with what is happening on the ground. As you have seen in the refugee camps in Nigeria, where I've forwarded you some of the videos, you have seen members of my organization on the ground talking to refugees. Refugees are voicing their opinion, saying that they are tired of the war. They want to go back home. Our diaspora population, they want to go back home and enjoy immunity because the ban against the consortium still stands. It makes any collective representation of our people's right to advocating for the people collectively and we hope that the Cameroon government and the president of Cameroon and his regime should not put their ego over the life of Cameroonians. They should do the right thing. What we are asking for devolution is not something that they themselves have not contemplated, as Dr. Ni have said. If you look at the special status, it recognizes our region as one and specific territory. Why do they have to give us two House of Assembly? We want a single legislature. We want to be able to express that our uniqueness as a one territory, one Southern Cameroon territory, or one West Cameroon, as the people may choose to. But we want real power that is divulged from the Constitution of Cameroon that will clearly reflect that this country is one country, but it is made up of two people. We want to see that constitutional change. These are the hard things that can stop the war. The boys are fighting because they know that there is an injustice. And the only way we can effectively solve this problem, I'm talking to you like the father of self-defense, the person who have trained forces, who have project our nationalism, the person who have represented the struggle at the highest level to demand, and with this peace plan that I am offering through this organization to the Cameroon government and the people of Cameroon, to accept devolution as the basis. Let's sit down and talk about how we can divulge power from the Constitution. For the meantime, to build confidence, release our political prisoners who accept to secede from hostility. Those who sign on to the peace plan accept Cameroon as one country, but insist on two people. They accept to stop fighting and seek reconciliation under the understanding that we have a negotiated settlement that will involve both sides. That is our proposition, and we are calling on all Cameroonians, and we have received very good feedback from the political elite, and even some of the CPDM people are also coming. Francophones have also been reaching out, and we hope that by declaring that we abandon hostility and embrace the peaceful method, it will open the door for people to come to us, to listen to the plight of our people, and the international community to open avenues for us to speak the plight of our people, the English-speaking people, whose identity are under a ridiculous attack from the French-speaking region. Even the majority of Francophones do not accept this type of bilingualism that you are forcing on our people. So we should speak the truth, we should stand on the truth, and forget these delusional people. There are people who will say that we will fight to the end until the last man standing. Even in Uganda, we have this type of people. The Lord Resistance Army, they are still fighting in the bushes in Uganda, but they do not represent the vast majority of our people. The vast majority of Anglophones stand with what I propose. My organization have the greatest network within our communities. We have put out videos of our members expressing the will of the refugees, the wills of the soldiers, and we hope that our people will seize this opportunity and apply pressure, especially as we are coming towards an election year, that before election should go on. Cameroon cannot guarantee, without a negotiated settlement, that political parties Maurice Kamto can visit Kumbu or can visit Kumba without armored car. What type of election is that? Is it an election for the military people to vote? They are building, spending money, buying weapons, building camps. Why can they not sit us together, sit on the table with us and have a negotiated settlement? We have made significant concession to recognize that, okay, yes, in the beginning you said that there is no Anglophone problem. We also said that we are not part of Cameroon, we were never part of Cameroon. Now we have come to say that, okay, we accept that there is one Cameroon that constituted two people. We now say that we are ready to secede from hostility and have set the stage with my influence of my organization and my credibility in the struggle, our forces are now ready to even move to the next stage if the Cameroon government is serious. So they should seize this peace plan from my hand. All Cameroon politicians of goodwill, activists and journalists like you should seize this peace plan from my hand and make sure that we don't miss this opportunity.
Now, Capo, you putting out this peace plans and you want nobody to cease to miss the opportunity. Have you engaged other leaders, secessionist leaders like Cho Ayaba, Chris Anu, Sako, and the host of others? Are they in conformity with this your move?
Yes, we have extended our proposition to all the Ambazonian groups. We have presented to them the privilege to have a look about our peace plan so that they can see the content and of our plan for the refugees, the future of the Ambazonian soldiers who have picked up arms, and the Ambazonians in the diaspora who have expressed political opinion that are afraid to go back home. We have presented to them. The reaction have been very varied. While we have very strong individuals who are in support, but they will not voice it publicly, for the vast majority of our struggle, we still believe that the solution cannot come from groups whose ideology are suicide in nature. There are groups in our struggle that have committed recorded war crimes, like the group of Ayabacho and the ADF. The Human Rights Report has investigated the acts that were committed, the public execution in Gozang. Those public executions do not reflect to all of us as Ambazonians. We have rejected those type of things. So people who are committing war crimes, who are not putting the people's interests first, you do not expect them to make any concession. The Ambazonian struggle is full of delusion. People who believe that everybody is working for Pobia, but you also have people who have made themselves presidents. These people are not in the logic in conformity with natural logic. So you don't expect that Chris Ano would call himself already a president, will come and say that he wants any solution that will not include his own Palais de Unité, or Sako to do the same. We have the same challenges when it comes to education. We started this struggle by banning education and saying everybody should boycott education. In the middle of the struggle, me, who took that responsibility to enforce that ban, I stopped schools from going on. I educated soldiers to stop school from going on. At one point, I tell our people that, look, we cannot suspend school forever. We have to even give our people a chance of education because it violates the right of children to education. I proposed the community school. All of the various Ambazonian organizations, they rejected it, and they said that I was working for Pobia because I wanted education for our people. But that did not stop me. I campaigned, and eventually it was adopted by all the forces. But till today, the various movements do not still agree that education should go on under our community school system. So how will any reasonable person expect people who are not in conformity with logic to come to their senses? You cannot hold the whole people hostage because Chris Ano say he's president. He is irrelevant. What are the influence of Chris Ano in Ground Zero? What are the influence of Ayabacho in Ground Zero? We saw in Momo in Batibo, he's fighting against the population in Batibo, burning palaces in EY. His soldiers was arrested by our population in Widikum and handed to the Cameroon military. So there are extremists in Ambazonians that have been rejected by our people. But we should separate the struggle of Anglophones, the struggle of the Ambazonian people from the fighting. The fighting is only one of the tools that we have to foster the rights and identity of Anglophones. Right now, because it has been hijacked or polluted by extreme groups, it is no longer viable. It plays against us. It hurts our own people. It is excessive. And our people have said enough to armed conflict. And my organization have expressed what we have received from our people. It is not just something that comes from me as a leader. It comes from an organization with the biggest network amongst our people. And I believe even you as an Anglophone, you have ears on the ground. You will know that our population have rejected an armed movement that focus on our own people, hurts our own people, than it hurts the enemy. This does not mean that we embrace the Cameroon military tactics. This does not mean that we accept the conduct of the Cameroon military. It simply means that it is no longer viable. The right thing to do is to pursue the advocacy for our self-determination through peaceful means, which is what my organization have adopted.
Okay, we're coming back to you, Capo Daniel. So many questions. Many persons have written questions. I'm going to be asking them to you after the intervention of Dr. Nick. Doctor,
Yep.
Adopting a non-violent approach to fight for the right and self-determination of the English-speaking people of Cameroon, how attractive is that? Is it possible given the division that you see amongst the various factions involved in this conflict?
It is possible, and it's the only thing that is going to happen.
Okay.
Because like we have said somewhere else, if you look at the war now that is going on between Ukraine and Russia, I can tell you that that war would end at a round table. What is happening between the Israelites and the Palestinians, that thing would end at the round table. All wars that end at the round table. So our own situation in Cameroon is not going to be different. And even as we speak, you know, quote me, His Excellency President Paul Biya is of the mindset that this nonsense should stop, and that we should this dialogue should go on, this negotiated settlement or whatever should go on, and as long as we keep Cameroon one and united, but we put in what it takes for us to coexist and function normally, it will be okay. So take it from me, quote me, that His Excellency President Paul Biya wants this problem solved as long as it is not a divided Cameroon. It's one Cameroon, two people, West Cameroon, East Cameroon. We put in what it takes for the nation to work. And as long as we can do that, it's okay. It's okay, and that is what is going to be, and it's going to come. So if you are wondering whether President Paul Biya would like this or not, hear it from me that yes, he would like it, and yes, he wants us to continue to talk about it and see how we can make it to go forward. Because though we are talking about the Swiss talks, we're talking about the Canadian talks, we can as well say that on this platform today, we have started those talks, and as we can actually just agree in Cameroon and get it going and only get a third party to certify to say, yes, these people, they actually agreed to do the right thing. And if the major national dialogue had actually paid attention to what we had, to what was going on and did the right thing, we will not be here today. It's because the national dialogue went on a tangent, left the problem and was treating something else. They set their own examination and marked it and gave it an answer, which was wrong. That's why we are having problems today. Actually, special status or whatever makes no sense. It makes no sense at all, and we have to all go back to the drawing table and get everything right. Once we get it right, there will be no problem, and I bet you this problem will be solved. And the problem will not be solved by the next president, it will be solved by His Excellency President Paul Biya, because that's his legacy. He wants it solved, and it will be solved. And I must say that if it has stayed so long, it's because of the people around him, some people around him who told him things that were not true, and then it got everybody in a mess. So now he wants it to be solved, and it will be solved, and those people around him who are deceiving him, ask them. They will tell you that Pa doesn't listen to them anymore because he wants the problem solved. We cannot keep deceiving ourselves for 8 years. Now, we were talking about something that happened. There was this Peter Kingsmanyon of blessed memory. In 2017, I learned something new from him. You know, there was this thing that he called the dogs of war phenomenon. I don't know whether Colbert too was talking about it, but I think that thing came from Peter Kingsmanyon, the dogs of war phenomenon. He was warning us at the time, and he cited the issue of Bin Laden and as to how this kind of wars, they evolve. You know, at the time, you know, the Anglophone groups, they had these Anglophone groups that were fighting, and the voices on the ground could listen to the people from abroad, and there was some kind of a coordination as long as, you know, there were some resources coming and some sense of order. But as we go along, all these generals, they begin to pop up on their own, so that there is a disconnect between the ground forces and those that were said to be giving them orders. And when that happens, because young people, once they take the gun and begin to realize that they have power in their hands, then that power goes into their heads and they can do just about anything. And then even you who gave them the guns and the money, they would not listen to you again. And when we get to that kind of a situation, it becomes very chaotic, very dirty, and very unfortunate. And that is the that phenomenon is called dogs of war phenomenon, where the dog will turn around and eat its master. You know, that's why Bin Laden was killed, because Bin Laden, I understand, was put in place by the Americans, but Bin Laden turned against the Americans, and the Americans went for him. So dogs of war phenomenon is something that happens. And then there is the war economy that has set in now, and the war economy too is very dirty. At the end of the day, people are no longer fighting for the cause. People are fighting but for their stomachs, fighting for some other things, which is not what actually triggered the war. And if you don't take care of that kind of an economic decay or economic situation where people begin to look at what they are getting out of the war, when people put their sweet tooth on free money or free opportunities coming from that, then the whole thing becomes very chaotic, and you would end up with some people in the government or people on the Ambazonian side who do not want the war to end because it becomes their business. And we are saying that all of that has got to stop. Let us go back to the drawing table, get things right, and stop this nonsense, because a lot of people are suffering.
Okay, so many persons are suffering. I will take some questions for you. Capo Daniel, I know you know MKPD very well. Is watching the program. He says, hello, Mr. Leo, this is MKPD watching from Douala. My question is for Capo Daniel. In 2019, Capo Daniel was the defense chief of the ADF when his group kidnapped, murdered, and beheaded Madame Aya for Florence in Pinin on the 14th of October 2019. The ADF put out information claiming that they had 3 suspects in their custody and investigations were going on. Can you tell us whatever happened with the so-called investigation, and how do you intend to give justice to Aya for Florence and those of us who were targeted by the armed groups which have been designated as terrorists by the Cameroon government?
Yeah, that is a very a big low in this conflict when we all watched that video of this lady, Madame Aya 4, pulled on the street, and she was humiliated. Her body was destroyed. And me as a young man, as an activist, I think, just to respond to LKPD, I was not working with the ADF. At that time, I was just an independent activist. I was working with the Tigers of Ambazonias, who were mainly fighting in Manu at that point. But as an activist who were encouraging people to pick up arms, I had responsibility as well, and I took my responsibility to investigate what happened. And I've responded to this same question in this same platform. What happened is that when boys pick up arms, some of them who are not trained and they are not in very strong command and control, they sometimes do things that are embarrassing to all of us. Those boys were real Ambazonian fighters who were in Pinyin, and they were bribed and misled by somebody who had a marital issue with this lady, this poor lady, Madame Ayafo, that they should assassinate her, and the issue of Ambazonia was just coming into it. Those boys were motivated by money to carry out that activity. I have publicly said that we condemn the dehumanization of that woman. It is not correct. My advice at that time to the ADF General Efang, was that arrest these boys, put them publicly and account for what they have done. And he told me, they gave me pictures where these boys were displayed with handcuffs on their hands. We show it to the public that these are the boys who were responsible for that actions. By putting them in handcuffs, we send a clear indication that these are not acceptable conducts. These conducts do not reflect the Anglophone people, and it does not represent a conduct that we will support in terms of responsibility for leadership. I heard that those boys had been banished to Nigeria. I was not directly responsible for what happened, but as an activist who was pushing for this struggle, I took responsibility to provide this information to the public. So if that will answer the question for Mr. LKPD, that is what happened, and that is very regrettable. And that lady who was killed, fortunately, she was called Mama Ambazonia because she was very She was taken given special treatment to Ambazonians activists who were in prison. So it wasn't related directly to this struggle. It was motivated by money, and that is very regrettable that we find ourselves in this war where people can now pay boys to go and kill people around. And that also shows the reason why we have to end this war. The Cameroon president, as we have expressed, we have received indications that they have reacted positively to my peace plan, but we know the nature of the regime in Yaoundé. They are so proud that they will reject that. They were even in Canada. But as Dr. Nick have said, we all must come together as Cameroonians and hold Pobia and insist that you should not give responsibility to the ministers that you have appointed. We know that there are people feeding the president of Cameroon with false information to manipulate him, but he's ultimately responsible. He's the commander-in-chief, and he's responsible to have the proper intelligence of what happened. It is time for us Cameroonians to come together, Anglophones and Francophones, sit down and look into how we can live together. We should think about the olden days where West Cameroon and East Cameroon used to function as two separate people in one country. We had our own parliamentarian, we even have our own football team. The Scotland people in United Kingdom have a football team, they have their flag. They are not afraid of that diversity. Cameroon should embrace the English culture and be proud of the English culture and preserve it. Do not risk it for marginalization. All this killing, we are Bantu people. When Pobia took our power, I remember my mother told me that this man was in the seminary, he wanted to become a priest. I mean that people will not need to go to the bush to express themselves. Today, people are running away in the bush because he has reacted in this manner, or his collaborators have reacted in this manner. He must take responsibility, as Monsieur Kankan said, Manjunga, before you die, give me my money. Before Pobia you leave, solve this problem. We want one Cameroon, two people. That is my dream, that is my vision, that is a vision that has my cabinet have expressed, and we are ready to take dispensation to ensure that if the Cameroon government reciprocate or react properly as they are indicating at the back, because they will never give us Anglophones or separatists any face. But if they say that we are all Cameroonians as they are claiming to be, they should know that this is not capitulation. To accept and put the people's first is not a shame. We are very proud of the fight that we have fight, and we have no apologies, but we also regret that we had to go to war to fight for our identity. Let's go back to the old days where West Cameroon had our own legislature. We had our own prime minister. If we choose to have governors instead of prime minister, we want our people to be able to elect them. We want that power not to come from the executive branch like the special status is. We want it to come from the constitution, devolution of power from the constitution. Hand it to the Anglophone people. Let us manage our own police. We don't want police people who are coming from Eton. Let the people in Eton, they come to Limbe to enjoy themselves in the beach. But we don't want them to be in our court system. We don't want French to be the medium of education in Bamenda or in Kumba. In Canada, the medium of education in the Quebec region is French, not bilingual, but it is a bilingual country. That is how it's supposed to be. Now in Yaoundé, there are schools that are Anglophone schools that they have written on the wall. I saw some pictures that no French allowed. So let us preserve the English-speaking culture, the Bajwara culture, the bilingual nature of the country. How can you say you want to employ bilingual teachers? Is there anything like bilingual science teachers in Cameroon?
Okay.
No.
Let us evolve. I want to read a part of what you wrote. You said the peak of the rise of the armed groups in our territory has come and gone without us taking advantage due to our divisive dynamics to coordinate a decisive push away of the Cameroon military presence. So you think that we've gone past the peak of the fighting in the southwest and northwest regions?
Yeah, I think it is true. It's just the reality. At the peak of this struggle was between 2018. I speak so as a defense official who was responsible of building the capacity. Our peak was in 2018, 2020. Within those 2 years, we had the highest amount of forces. Our forces were highly motivated. You could see from our communication, there were activists who were every day calling on boys to rally money and support the forces. But today, each time Ambazonian want to raise money, Ambazonians will attack them, not even the Cameroon government. We have seen our forces fighting communities in Ground Zero. The ADF are fighting Ambazonians now, not even Cameroon military. They are fighting to collect tax. So when we had that peak of our struggle, unfortunately, because of our internal dynamic, we could not take full advantage to coordinate a massive push of the Cameroon military presence in our territory, because we just had a pocket of Cameroon military men. Most of their remote areas of administration have been abandoned. So we just had military where we didn't take advantage of that period, unfortunately, because of our dynamic. That period have come and gone, and we have learned from hindsight. But even more importantly, we see an opportunity here that to say that, okay, this thing has not turned out the way we expected it. The Cameroon government have also considered and acknowledged the problem. Now, why should we be fighting after 2019? Why should we continue this war? There is no reason for us to fight again. If the Cameroon government have accepted that this problem is real, it requires that they maintain the uniqueness of our territory, and then I believe it has opened the door for dialogue. And I want to not give credit to anybody in that regime, because the last thing you want to hear is that some of them are going around and say that, oh, Capo Daniel is saying today because now we did pay back, because that is how the regime is. It's very corrupt. Our people should know that our motivation is the suffering of our people. I, as an activist, I have been there with the people from refugees, telling their story on social media, telling their story to the international community, writing to defend the soldiers, teaching them how to fight, motivating them, and we know exactly what is going on. We want our people suffering to come to an end. We also want the death of Cameroon military people to end. We are all Bantu people. I spoke to the general in the south, in the West Cameroon. Let me call it West Cameroon. How do you call this general there? He's somebody who have gone to school in Anglophone region. He has studied in Anglophone. He is now the commander of the Cameroon military in the English-speaking region. And when I was talking to him in trying to make sure that we de-escalate the conflict, he was expressing himself in perfect English, and he respects our people. Many Anglophones and Francophones, we really don't have problem with each other when we talk to each other. And we should not allow this thing to spoil our image around the world. Everywhere you go, you say that you come from Ambazonia or Cameroon, people are saying that we people are killing each other. It's very bad. We should stop this shame. This is a war of shame. We came into this union by ourselves, the English people. We rejected Nigeria to come to Cameroon and meet our French brothers, as John Gufonja put it on the head. Should we be killed today in this manner? Should the president say that they will never allow Anglophones to partake in the solution? The solution, they will do everything to make sure that we who fought for this thing should be isolated. This should not be the story of Cameroon. That in every turn and corner, the Englishman, even when they say that John Fundi won the election, they say that because he's Anglophone. Today they are saying the same thing to us. That because we pick up arms to defend ourselves. Something that opinions in the Francophone region believed that we had the right of self-defense. Now, if they have accepted that there was a problem, let us sit together and stop pursuing this endless killing. Okay. But I would say that I recognize that the Cameroon government have not closed the door because of the follow-up committees still carry out its work with the mandate from the presidency. But we are saying that it is time for both people to sit together, and we are seeking for a new social contract to how we can run this country with our vision of one country, two people. Okay. That is our vision, one country, two people.
Dr. Ningonyam, you got what he said. He described the war as a war of shame. Yeah. Is that how you see it?
Yes, of course, it's a war of shame. I mean, it's a war of shame because this problem actually would have been solved just when it started if we did the right thing. And even right now, if we want to end this war now, 1 month is too much and the thing is over. So it's just about doing what is right, doing what is just, and doing what is good. Not running away. You can't run away from a problem. Face the problem, face the truth, use the truth to solve the problem. If you go around, turn around in circles and not face that truth, then you're only postponing it to another day. Like I was saying, what we call the major national dialogue was a golden opportunity to solve that problem, but we choose not to solve the problem. We choose to play around it, and then here we are today with more deaths and more chaos on our hands. Yet if we had gone to that thing and faced the truth and spoke the truth, those problems would have ended in two weeks. Now we are back to it again, and we must solve this problem, and it will be the legacy of His Eminence Christian Cardinal Toomey, that he is resting and knowing that his people have been liberated, in the sense that they are no longer under the yoke of something that they don't like, that we are in a country that is not divided, is one and unified country, but with two people, two cultures who respect each other. No one is a slave to the other. No one is a slave to the other. The Anglophones might be in a minority in terms of numbers, but that doesn't make them your slaves. No, that's not true. English is not inferior. I think it's just when you are drunk, you think English is inferior. To be treating people who speak English as being inferior because they speak English, it's a sign of lack of education. So we go for things that don't really matter, and we are saying that we have come of age, and we have come to a point in time where we have to solve the problem. And I bet you this problem will be solved in less than a month when the president gives the green light. President Paul Biya will give the green light, and this will be solving the Anglophone problem, correcting the economics of the nation, correcting the politics of the nation, correcting the development of a nation, providing jobs and opportunities for youths, building a new Cameroon which is solid. That will be the legacy of His Eminence Christian Cardinal Toomey, what he always wanted for his people, and that will be the legacy of President Paul Biya before he leaves. So this is not negotiable, and these are things that are going to happen. Too bad for people who don't believe it. That's what is going to happen. If you don't believe it, it's your problem. And if you don't believe it, please don't stop the people who are trying to do the right thing. It's been a lot of people, whether you are appointed, not appointed, power or not, and so on, a lot of people have used the power that was given to them in confidence by the president to hurt the nation. And we've come to a point to say, enough is enough. Stop it. Thank you.
Okay, Capo, many persons will really want to know the power you exert on ground. How many soldiers fighting today are under your command?
We have a very wide network of fighters. As you know, we have been focused, our ideology has been a guerrilla warfare where we carry out sabotage attacks, even within Cameroon. I think some of you would notice that fire incidents that used to happen in Douala have suddenly stopped. We have operations within Ambazonian territory that we have been carrying on. And even more importantly, is not the amount of forces that are under my control. This war is being fought not because somebody in the diaspora is the commander-in-chief. Nobody have a solid command and control. The war is being fought because the people feel that there is an injustice. They don't have a meaningful say over the country. The war is being fought because the Anglophones knows that there is no amnesty. The Anglophone knows that our political prisoners who were advocating for this struggle are still in prison. Our people know that our refugees are still in Nigeria. Now, my movement has given these voiceless people a voice. The refugees have spoken. We have released a video. They say that they want to go back home under a negotiated settlement. Our people in prison, they say that they want release under a negotiated settlement. Our people in the diaspora have said that they want to return home in peace. As a leader of this organization, we have taken the voice of the people and we are telling Cameroon that it is time for us to come home, accept a negotiated settlement on this basis so that our people can come back home and we can build a new Cameroon together of one country, two people, where each side will respect each other and each side will have a place where they can feel comfortable to express their own identity and their own culture in unison. And this is not too hard to demand. In terms of our ability to command in ground zero, my organization, my person, from statistics from Google, shows that we are the most influential bloc in our struggle. I've been in the top ranks of our struggle. I've been responsible for educating and motivating our people to carry up arms and defend themselves. And so I'm the most credible voice to be able to lead this solution on our path. I led the solution for community education. I led the massive display of Ambazonian nationalism. I am the face of the fighting from the diaspora, and I'm taking this leadership on behalf of all Anglophones to extend this peace plan offer to the Cameroon government, and also to lobby the international community to support this proposition, so that the Cameroon government, because of the lack of trust, we have received surprisingly very good indications from the regime, as Dr. Ni have also expressed. We hope that the head of state of Cameroon will take the right decision to honor this peace plan. It is not shame to accept that we cannot liberate by force. The Cameroon also, they hide their shame behind the national dialogue, but this is not about us. This is about the people who are suffering. Let us end this war of shame. Let us accept the reality of one country, two people, and go back to the drawing board and see how we are not obsessed about our historical past, but look how things have changed. A lot of water have gone under the bridge. Now, how can we two people come together and live in peace and harmony? For us, we have offered a very clear map, and this is an advantage to all Cameroonians to know exactly what we are demanding. We are not demanding that Francophones should not come to our territory or we should not speak French. What we are saying that in the English-speaking part, the dominant language and the medium of education should be English. The judicial system, the jurisdiction should be common law. It should be preserved. There are a lot of examples. Canada is a good example. It should be preserved. We want our municipal police, where our own people can do law enforcement. Right now, there's no law in Bamenda. There's no law in Kumba. It is helter-skelter. We want our own municipal police. We want to control our own fire brigade. Let the children be able to do this. I don't think our Bulu Beti people are so much interested to come and fight fire in Bamenda. They should give us this devolution of power. They should not be afraid of it. It is the right thing to do. It will make Cameroon even more stronger and even more beautiful. This is a war of shame, and we should put an end to the fighting and save our people from ourselves, because the people are trapped in the ideology of the radicals on both sides. And it is time for Pobia to honor the first promise he gave when he came to Bamenda to launch his political party, the CPDM. He said that no Cameroonian will have to go to the bush to express their political opinion. Now, the Ambazonian people, the People's Right Advocacy Platform, we have rejected hostility. We have embraced the peaceful path of advocacy for our right. We have offered the Cameroon government a peace plan for autonomy through constitutional devolution, and we hope that the government will reciprocate in a very fair and very just manner, putting the people first.
Now, I don't know whether you saw the letter that was written by Dr. Gabila, who was a separatist himself. He wrote to Mark Barretta on the coming elections and said this was a rare opportunity for the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions to choose the persons that they would want to see as their mayors, their senators, and their MPs, calling on him to also advocate for people to choose their leaders through the ballot box. Did you read that, and did you feel concerned by that call made by a former separatist?
Yeah, I saw the letter, and our reaction has been that I want to just like Dr. Nick have said, and surprisingly, I'm having something in common with the CPDA member. It's very surprising, but I hope that this will usher in Cameroon a new era. This is the first thing our people should know. The old generations that is passing away gave us multipartism. This multipartism is not still something that we envy, because when the Pobia give decentralization, they gave us mayors and parliamentarians. There is no council in the English-speaking region that anybody knows the budget of the municipality. Nobody knows how that budget is spent. That same politics of CPD and SDF, we don't want those same politics. Their era have passed. The era where our generation have gone to the diaspora and learned how things work, we have come back home, where our people are more exposed to how things work now. We want a new social contract that we will have direct elections with local electoral bodies that are in charge of that election. We want election law where only people who are resident in a particular place can become mayor. We don't want people in Yaoundé to become mayor in Bamenda. We don't want people in Douala to become mayor in Boya and in Kumba. No, we want residents who can prove that they have been resident in a place for over 1 year before they can stand elections. We want presidential elections where we believe that we have some form. In America, they have electoral college to guarantee that it is not majority that carries the vote. We have to go back to the drawing board. The system of Cameroon is a relic of our colonial past. We cannot still function in that same level. We have to sit down and look how modern war works, design economic system that works for our people, and empower our own people. We cannot be relying on foreign loans, and we don't know how much money is coming from the petrol. We don't even have royalties from those petrol being given to those areas who deserve some handout. So we want a complete new political system, not what we see today. The elections in Cameroon have not saved us any good. Multipartism have not given the small freedoms we have for freedom of expression is still highly restricted. We want a Bill of Rights. If the Francophone don't want it, but for us, for the New Deal, we want that the English-speaking region should have a Bill of Rights that guarantees certain rights and privileges for our citizens, that they will have a right to challenge the police officers. They will not, you don't have to go to make your ID card. You are presenting your birth certificate, you certify it. You present your ID card, you certify it. They are taking you money. It is a colonial era system of chop a chop, where you appoint people or people take office to collect money from the money they give as bribe. We want a transparent system. If the people in Rwanda can do it, if the people in Singapore can do it, if the people in Hong Kong can do it, we Cameroonians, we can defeat corruption. This electoral system, we want the form of the state should be part of the election. We are not interested, the people are not interested in presidential election anymore because everybody knows that it's a one-party system today. So what we want is that there should be a negotiated settlement. Election should include autonomy for our region without including the solution to this problem in the election board. Other people have election like that. Then how can you guarantee that people will vote? Do you think that Kamto can go to Kumbu to carry out election without Amoka? So elections right now are not really viable in the English-speaking region because of the conflict. Let us make the resolution of this conflict part of that election debate. We want to see autonomy in the ballot box, and this is an opportunity for Pobia to act rightly while he can before the election come and go.
Okay, now, so many persons are worried about the ghost towns, and what is your position about the ghost town? Who is it helping?
The ghost town, for the most part, that means the Monday ghost town that we have, which is a symbol of our collective resistance. That means it's a way for the public, since they have banned the consortium, it means that for us collectively to express ourselves, even civilly, we don't have a space again. It's a crime. The Cameroon will prosecute you. So it is the only way left for our people to express themselves, that every Monday they stay at home. But what our people have rejected are the excessive use of lockdown, where they say, police motor pass jams of man, they no talk sorry, maybe we'll lock down. This one to show their own power, maybe we'll lock down, we punish our own people more than we are trying to more than we even make a political statement. Concerning the Monday ghost town, that can only go away if we have a negotiated settlement. It is equal with the fight in the insecurity. It can only stop when there is a negotiated settlement. The idea that they will have a solution that does not include an input from us who are fighting this war is ridiculous. Who do you want to negotiate? Who do you want to solve a problem with? We cannot treat us worse than they treated the people who fought for the Makiza war. Did they treat the people in the Makiza war like they are doing to us today? No, they had allowed them to go to their villages. They didn't have a DDR center where they take brother to kill brother. We should recognize that we have all made mistakes. The Cameroon government have made a mistake to ban the consortium. That ban should be taken off. If they are sincere that they want to solve this problem, stop the ban against our nationalism. Allow political expression and collective bargain. Let the Anglophone be able to join together. Today, they cannot even allow political parties in Cameroon to campaign. So what type of thing is that? We are living in the 21st century. So what we are demanding is for the human right, basic human right that Cameroon have acknowledged through its international engagement to uphold. Respect the right of Anglophones. You have recognized the problem. We have fought each other for 8 years. We don't want to fight this war for 10 years or even 1 more years. The election period is coming. It's a unique opportunity to resolve this crisis, and I appeal and I extend the peace plan to President Paul Biya and tell him, seize this opportunity. And I am also campaigning for all political parties in Cameroon, all activists. This is not politics. This is human life that are being wasted. It is a war of shame. We are not proud of this war. We are not proud of the killing of Francophones military people who come to our territory. We are not proud to disgrace spoil the image of Cameroon. But we have been forced to do so. And now we are saying that let us sit together as one country, 2 people, and agree how we can cohabit. And I hope that this message will be picked on, this peace plan will be picked on by everybody in Cameroon, and ask Paul Biya to do the right thing.
Okay.
The ball is in his court.
Yeah, Dr. Nick, how do we get other persons to also cue in with what Dr. Capo is saying in the other groups? Because, like you said, when Christian Kadinatumi came up with the option, it was not only fought by persons from within, but we saw so many groups out there fighting him. And as Capo is saying, so many persons also are not identifying themselves in what he is saying.
Well,
how do we get many more of the separatist groups to endorse what he is saying?
Let us start off by congratulating Capo Daniel for making the right step in the right direction and doing what is right. Like I've said before, what is true is true. You don't need truth does not need majority. Truth has got absolutely, truth has nothing to do with democracy. Truth has got nothing to do with votes. So you can be alone and you are speaking the truth, and you can have 10 million people on the other side who are living in a lie. A lie remains a lie, and a lie can never become a truth just because of numbers. So that is the foundation of things. Where does the truth stand? That thing which is good, which is right, which is just. Once you can identify it and stick with it, whether you are alone, if you are alone, fine, continue in it. But as time goes on, other people will see the light and join you. And there is nothing as strong as the truth. It does not exist. There is nothing as strong as love. There is nothing as strong as wisdom. All the guns, all the governments, all the appointments, all the blah, 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 blah. Nothing is as strong as truth, love, and wisdom. And when you have these things, you have it all. And nothing is as good as having respect for human life. Nothing. So, in the midst of the chaos, Capo Daniel recognizes this truth, and he is extending a hand to everybody, including the government and all the other fighters and all the other Anglophones and all Cameroonians, to say, we were in darkness and the truth is over there, and I have that truth in this peace plan. So it's something for us to bite into, and we would say that we have started to talk about it today. We'll continue to talk about it, and it's just like, when the rain starts to fall, water starts to gather in little drops, and then you have little gullies, and those gullies later on form large masses of runoff water, and before you know it, you have a stream that can sweep away people, like it happened in Boya. But it started as little drops of rain. So we have our little drops of peace today, but it's going to be a massive movement before you know it. And before we know it, the mass of people that are for the peace will be more than those that are for violence, and that is going to cause the shift towards the peace movement. That said, we are still going to have 1 or 2 people who probably would not want to follow the mass, because of their economic benefits from the war. That is understandable, but we'll see how we can convince them and help them to create industries, create jobs, and so on. And by the way, I think this is the time to say that when President Paul Biya is talking of import substitution, this import substitution will go a long way to solve the Anglophone problem, to solve the problem of youth unemployment in Cameroon, to solve the problems of our poverty, to solve the problem of our underdevelopment. It's about industry. And if you are to step back a little bit, you will see that this our fight between Anglophone, Francophone, Anglophone war, the violence and so on, it all comes from a failed educational system for the past 60 years. So, you know, if we don't correct that, we will not get it right. We might be blaming the French, we might be blaming the English, we might be blaming the Chinese. I don't know who else we are blaming. But the bottom line is, our children don't have food. Our children don't have work. Our children have no future. Those children, as they are running and dying in the Mediterranean Sea, dying in the Sahara, suffering abroad, it is that suffering which gets people to ask the question, but for heaven's sake, I have a nation. Why should I be suffering? And then we start asking those questions. And I'm saying that to solve this Anglophone problem, ENAM must go. ENAM and NASLA must go. They are the tools for marginalizing people, not only Anglophones, but they are the tools used by the colonial people to continue to hold Cameroon by the testes. They must go.
Yeah, but how do you translate what's that are declared on TV and what is happening on ground? It must be under a political platform, which I will still come back to you to say how you are going to achieve what you're saying. But I'll stay with you, Capo Daniel. Say we also not been able to translate international sympathy to our subjugation into recognition of Ambazonia Independence Declaration, and there are no longer any chances of Ambazonia independence recognition. That is, at international level, you see no hope.
It is unfortunate that the declaration made by Siseko when he declared independence on behalf of the struggle, that for all that period of time, he was picked up. We never materialized. We did not translate the sympathy we had initially from the struggle. The Americans condemned the reaction of the Cameroon government. They came under sanction. The Germans, the sympathy we had initially from the struggle. The Americans condemned the reaction of the Cameroon government. They came under sanction. The Germans also withdrew their support, even in a fight, a legitimate fight against Boko Haram, which we all support that fight against Boko Haram. The Germans withdrew their support, and restrictions were put on Cameroon when they received military aid not to use them to fight in this war. So we have a lot of sympathy from the international community. Unfortunately, in our engagement, we never succeeded to translate those sympathy to recognition. And after the talks in Canada in 2023, it was made clear that this sympathy it does not translate to recognition, and no country have recognized our independence or our declaration for independence. So it is not viable at this stage, given our dynamic and given the fighting on the ground. And we must be rational when it comes to the life of our people, to say that, okay, we now don't really need a need to continue fighting if the Cameroon government have indeed come out to acknowledge the problem. The dynamic have changed. But as Dr. Nick have said, there are a minority of people who want to continue to fight for two primary reasons. One is the economic of war. They benefit from the war, and they want their money to keep on flowing. They don't care about the blood of the people. They will do everything to let the war continue. Number two is their motivation to fight. Their motivation was not really for the people. They are just fighting for an ideology, an abstract ideology. And that ideology is supreme for them, more above the people's well-being. But we must come to the realization that we started fighting because we were marginalized. We started fighting because we do not feel that we belong to this country or have any meaningful say in how this country is being run. And if there is an opportunity that we can change that formula, then it takes away the reason, the raison d'etre to fight. And we can now say that to our people now. Now there is no longer a reason to fight. our identity have been preserved, our statehood have been preserved. We have total control of governance in this country, and we can share in this glory of a dream of Pan-Africanism, of one Cameroon, two system. It is not a bad thing to accept this, especially when it comes to the life of your people. It's just reality. All over the world, it is normal. Even in Ukraine, at times the people they look at the prospect of winning and say, we can win Russia, we can't win Russia. It is only in Cameroon where for you to say that we can no longer win now. It means that some people will say that might be they have bribed you. But I think that those are just delusions. It's not backed by any evidence. Nobody will come to take the hit that we do, to do the things we do, to go against a government because you wanted money. It is just ridiculous. But we know that there are people who came into this struggle already with pre-made ideology, and they will fight and die not for the people, but for that ideology. This is not for us an ideological war. This is a physical war where people are dying. It is for our identity, it's for our culture. And the idea of independence, we must come to realize that it is also, nobody is 100% independent. So long as they preserve our identity, they preserve our statehood within one Cameroon, then I think that we have a formula where we can live together in peace. So long as the police on our street, our people, the grievances is deep. We do not really like the conduct of the Cameroon police and gendarmes in our street. We don't really like them. We want them replaced. We want our own municipal police. We want police that are accountable to our mayors or to our governors that are elected by our people.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Capo, you must also understand that one of the biggest problems Cameroonians are faced with today is exactly what you're talking about, municipal police. A very big problem across Cameroon today. But what would account for the loss of interest by the international community to what you guys have been fighting for?
It is a claim of exclusive power by some individuals who are very corrupt, who are taking advantage of the grievances. When people come and make themselves president, when we don't even have a country, we have not elected them. And they didn't just make themselves a president, they actually claim exclusive power. In their own reality, we are already independent. Whether they are killing people, they are happy that we are winning. So people are also obsessed. You know, when you get into a war for 7 years, if you are not careful, you run into mental problems. There are Ambazonian leaders who are suffering from mental problems. When you see Chris Anu coming out and say that he is the president of Ambazonia, he opened an embassy. How many visas do you think he expects to issue visa? Maybe in his imagination, he's the president of a country. But every Ambazonian who is in ground zero, who is suffering through this issue, they know that we are still suffering. We are still under Cameroon. When you go out, they ask you, where are you coming from? You start babbling with what? We must go back to the reality. Ambazonia is not yet a country. It is an aspiration only. People who take it as a reality are mad people. You cannot. There is no way you will ever negotiate, you ever find a solution with the people, with the organization that we have in the struggle. And if the Cameroon government continues to insist that there are some few people who are going to object, then they are just looking for excuse to continue the war. Because we are the voice of the people. We have put out videos of our refugees expressing themselves, elected refugee leaders, traditional leaders who have said that we want one country, two people, we want to go back home. Our political prisoners want released, but they don't want release under shame. They want the Cameroon government to also accept that, okay, they have made a mistake. These people were fighting for something that was right. They went too far, but they also went too far. They pushed them to go too far. So our political prisoners want to also come under this platform to accept that they have seceded from hostility. They are willing to pursue advocacy through peaceful means, but the ball is not in our hands. We can only go as far as extend this peace plan. It depends on Paul Biya if he will receive it or not. But this time we are also engaging the international community. We are launching a massive campaign to reach out to the international community, to other African leaders, former African presidents, and to tell them that endorse this vision for Cameroon, our vision of one country, two systems. And to the Cameroon people, the Francophone, I am telling them that I have a dream that one day Anglophones and Francophones will work together like two people in one country, holding hands together, be a pride of Africa. and we will respond to the critics in Ivory Coast who are making a mockery of Cameroon. Now look at you people, you are fighting each other, killing Anglophones every day.
Yeah,
Let us talk
Capo Daniel, when you say you have a dream that one day Anglophones and Francophones are going to work as one person, are they not working together? Thousands of Anglophones are living happily in Douala. So many of them are in Yaoundé, they have gotten married. Some are in Bafoussam. A very good number of them are living happily with Francophones. What is that not already the dream that is being realized?
No, those people who are living in Yaoundé cannot go back to their villages. Now Anglophones do not celebrate their cultural festival anymore, even in Yaoundé or Douala. They are moving now even to the diaspora. We saw in South Africa the other day one of the biggest celebrations of the Manu culture, which we are very proud of. We saw also the Bapere people here in Edmonton in Canada celebrating their traditional culture. More and more we are seeing traditional rulers leaving their palaces to go and erect palaces in Yaoundé and Douala. The font of Banso, the biggest fondom in the English-speaking part, is no longer resident in his village for the past 3 years. So in reality, we want to live with Francophones, but every Anglophone knows that there is war in their village. He cannot go back in their home. Why? Because there is this clash where our people do not feel that they are part of this country. So there is no harmony amongst us. Even when I meet my Francophone friends now, we want to talk, they are looking at me. The elephant in the room is this war. We must remove this war of shame. Even Francophones who are working in Yaoundé, they are being, every time the elephant in the room is that there is something in the air that is smelling, which is this war. Nobody likes it. So if you say that we are already enjoying the one Cameroon now, my brother, you are living in another war. I can assure you that in the streets of of Yaoundé, the people don't want this war. In Douala, the people don't want this war. It is a shame. All the musicians, they always come out and they say, stop this war, end the conflict. This is a shame. This war, Paul Biya can stop this war, as you said, if he wants to solve this problem. We have offered the problem of the Cameroon because we have engaged them in direct negotiation. We engaged them through the mediation in Canada. We know what they have insisted. They have insisted that they want to maintain one Cameroon. They have also backed down from their initial claim that the Southern Cameroon was part of their territory that was lost to Nigeria, and the Northern Cameroon was lost, and they are mourning, so they want to incorporate us inside the country. President Paul Biya went to France and said that they have tried to assimilate us. It did not work. So if they have acknowledged these things, we are also saying that, yes, this is true. This is why we are dying. This is why we are fighting, because we don't want to be assimilated. We are fighting and dying because we want our history to be told as it is, that we were a separate country, equal in status like the French-speaking part of Cameroon. But we have come together to form this one country. It does not belong to the French Cameroon. Cameroon does not belong to former French Cameroon. Neither does Cameroon belong to the former British Southern Cameroon. It belongs to the two entities. Let us reflect this in the Constitution. Because in that Constitution, when you look at the Constitution, what is the definition of Cameroon? Why should we be having birth certificate in Bamenda, produced only in English? Then you have birth certificate in Yaoundé, produced only in French. Then yet they say that the country should be bilingual. So we should just go back to basic and learn from other civilizations. We can learn from the Belgian people. We can learn even from the British people or Canada, where we can live as one country, two people, and we function with harmony. So they have accepted this reality, but they are still playing games. They should stop it. Paul Biya should not allow the ego of some individuals who are reflecting on him to be above Cameroonians' life. Francophones are dying. For the most part, they are not Bulu Beti people who are dying. It is the children of poor Francophones that are sent to go and fight in Ambazonia.
Okay,
is not a good thing for us. We don't fight this war with pride. We fight this war with shame. When we go out to ask our boys to carry arms, we carry them with shame. And today I've come to extend a peace plan that involve a devolution of power from the Constitution.
Have you told those who are fighting to down their guns expressly?
I am the most credible Ambazonian activist who have built the capacity. I'm responsible for pushing our narrative internationally for 70%. I have fought from the beginning in Manu under the Tigers of Ambazonia. I am one of the founders of the IG group. I have served as the deputy defense chief. I have fought as the anti-kidnapping czar. I am the most credible Ambazonian activist, and according to Google, I am the most watched Ambazonian leader. I have the biggest network that reflects to our people. You have seen my organization on the ground expressing the rights of the wishes of the refugees to come back home. Please, let us focus on the facts. Like Dr. Nick have said, there are always going to be people who are Shandai. There are people who are going to end up like the Lord Resistance Army that are going to be isolated by our population. We have seen our population fighting against the ADF of Ayarachu. We have seen him being rejected by people. We do not accept extremism. Neither do we accept assimilation. There should be a middle ground. Today, my organization have come out with a leading voice to set a stage and to extend a peace plan. The focus should be, this is the right thing, everybody should rally about, and let us forget and isolate extremists. There will be extremists on both sides forever. We cannot use it as an excuse to let our people be trapped in an ideology held and masterminded by people who are fighting for economic interests. But we should put their interests first and hear their voice. My voice is the people's voice. My voice is the voice of the refugees, the political prisoners who want to be released, the diaspora who wants to return home, and all Anglophones who want to preserve their identity and the Bajura and real bilingualism in Cameroon.
Okay.
We are the majority. We should be listened to and taken.
Dr. Nick, okay, but before I get back to Dr. Nick, you saw one of the fighters, the leading fighters in Gokotunja, who was taken down yesterday. I'm sure you got the video, and others who have been killed this last weeks. Are you touched, and how do you feel when you see children, brothers, fathers being killed like that?
It's a very sad thing to watch those images, and it is sad in two levels. One is that the French Cameroon army trained the Cameroon army to do this type of thing to the Maquisards, the Bassas and Bamileke, who were fighting for independence after independence was declared in Cameroon. They did those type of beheading and this type of treatment, and we don't expect that a trained military people should be desecrating the bodies of people in this manner. It is very sad. And on the second level, these are all avoidable deaths. The Cameroon government came to Canada, and we explore cessation of hostilities and ceasefire, where the Cameroon government, in principle, accepts to withdraw its forces from its forward operating bases and stop all offensive operation in the territory. We can build on that. Yes, the negotiation failed, and all hope shouldn't be lost. We can still secede from hostilities. There have been indications on the ground and some flexibility from the side of the Cameroon government and their military. For example, when Big Number was killed, we appealed directly to the Cameroon government through third parties, and they initially returned the dead body of Big Number General Ifang to his family. And unfortunately, the radicals fought that he should not be handed to his family and intimidated the family, and his body was brought to the street in Gozang. So we must recognize and encourage such goodwill from the Cameroon government, which exhibited it in that type of manner, even though it's very bad.
Capo Daniel, you speak like what these guys are doing has been nice. We know that Sagon, who was killed in Gokotunja, has been blocking that road. When you block roads for 2-3 weeks, for a month, how do you want people to survive?
The issue is that this struggle, we have a legitimate grievance, but the reaction, the breakdown on how we execute this struggle have been problematic in terms of the military front. Soldiers are dispersed and are acting on their own. The group of Saigon who work under Sako Ikome, they excessively blocked the road and they came under pressure from us. I publicly condemned the blocking of that road by Saigon. I spoke to him and I asked them to reopen the road, which they made a video to publicly reopen that road. So out of anger, sometimes people make mistakes. But his motivation have always been to fight for the right of Anglophones. Okay. He picked up weapons for that purposes. And in his own, in illiteracy, when a war starts like this, people act sometimes even without thinking. and you sometimes even hurt your own people along the way. But the good thing with Saigon is that every time I approach him, I tell him, "This, look, my brother, this thing you are doing is hurting our people more." He stops it.
Okay.
And even when, so we acknowledge that there have been mistakes that have been made by these boys, but these mistakes are paled compared to the one that were made by the Cameroon government. You look like the case on Garbu where they killed our people. They came out, the officials were lying about it. It fails to them. And the Cameroon government have vindicated these boys.
Please, Dr. Nick, when you look at what is happening on ground today, do you have the sense that people are fighting for something?
That's what I was saying, that, initially it was very clear what people were fighting for. And then, just like Peter Magnon, Peter King's Magnon said, when the phenomenon of dogs of war sets in, when the economics of war sets in, when people use the gun and taste of power and can have control over people, it becomes very difficult to know what is motivating A, B, or C from fighting. So you might have a whole front, but in that front, you would have different people in it with different motives. And that's where it becomes very, very tricky. And if you don't stop the war on time, then things become so complicated that everybody ends up being eaten by the monster we created. So it's very important that we stop this war right now before there's a spillover effect that we cannot handle. The economics of war is raging, and people have tasted of power, and they're using that power to cause more harm than good. And this is not only happening on one side, it's happening on both sides. So when we get to this situation, the earlier we stop the nonsense, the better.
Okay, so we are going to be wrapping up at this juncture. Thank you very much, Capo, for coming to talk to Cameroonians on your call for cessation of hostilities by the Ambazonian People's Rights Advocacy. In a communique that you say the peak of the rise of armed groups in the territory has come and gone without an advantage being taken. And you see, we have also not been able to translate international sympathy to our subjugation into recognition of Ambazonian Independence Declaration, and there are no longer any chances of independence recognition. We want to thank you for coming to Prime R.
You're welcome, Mr. Leonard. And I want to thank everybody and to say that we will continue to fight and advocate for self-determination and the preservation of the Anglophones' identity and the preservation of our statehood within the Constitution of Cameroon. We have denounced the violence means of this liberation movement because it's no longer viable. It is no longer attainable. The goal for absolute independence is no longer attainable. But the resistance will continue as long as the Cameroon government maintains its current posture. That is why we have extended the peace plan that calls for devolution of power to the Anglophone region and autonomy, so that our people can be able to keep behind this injustice that the Cameroon government itself has recognized through their Grand National Dialogue. And we hope that the Cameroon government will have a positive response. We don't expect any public reaction from them because that is how our history has been with them. But we hope that the real work, we don't want publicity, we don't want popularity. This is not about us. We want that the head of state of Cameroon should have a rethink about his posture and seize this peace plan from my hand. And all Cameroonians, both Francophones and Anglophones, all political party and civil society and religious authorities should embrace this solution as the right solution and force the hand of the Cameroon government through political pressure, not military pressure anymore, for a negotiated settlement of this war. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, but I'm sure the president of the Republic some years back actually is the one who offered this peace plan to those who are fighting, reason why former fighters are now found in the DDR center. Some of them are still there, others are walking free because of that action that was taken by the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya. Thank you for coming, Dr. Nick.
Well, thank you very much. Just before we leave, just to keep insisting that the Anglophone war is going to come to an end. There's going to be West Cameroon and East Cameroon, a president, vice president. There's going to be a capital in Numba, a capital in Ebebda for East Cameroon, and regional capitals in Balmayo and in Alo, not Boya, and administrators would be elected, not appointed. Enam and Nasla shall be closed. Besides, there will be a couple of other things, but you will get this. Thank you.
Dr. Nick, I keep asking, wonder what a political platform that is going to be achieved.
Let me say that stopping this Anglophone war is something that is on President Paul Biya's mind now more than anything else, and it is his legacy and it's the legacy of the Cardinal, and those legacies will be upheld. And once this war stops, we'll correct our educational system, which is already under correction now. We'll correct our economics. We would build industries and make sure that youths are trained massively to have skills. Industries will come in, and then people would have jobs and so on. That is what is on the president's mind now. We'll have to start learning how to solve our own problems because we've made huge mistakes.
We want to thank you all for watching. Thank you to this